remember I graduated high school. I went to Detroit Public Schools. Graduated high school a year early. Because even then I became this strategic little kid and I went, I don't see the return on investment staying here 4 years. Seriously. Even before I could really articulate it, I kind of knew there was more outside of the four walls that were my East Side Detroit community. So I think freshman year, made the decision, I need to make this as short as possible and get on to the next piece because reading books, I remember my fourth grade teacher, I think that's when your test scores come out, and I think she realized I was probably a little brighter than I let on. So I remember she came to my house and I was a shy kid, lisp and stutter, just shy, and unsure of my own skin, and now I realize at 47 I'm all of the things about who I've become, finding comfort in my own skin as an African American, finding comfort in my own skin as a gay man, all of those things, and being this weird kid with a lisp and stutter. But that teacher brought books to me, to my house, and she said, read them. You love reading, keep a journal. So I started doing that and really just looking at the world through books. And as much as I loved my East Side Detroit community, I knew through books, which is why arts is so important to me. I knew that there was a world outside of this. So even at a young age, no matter what was happening in my circle, I was already preparing, or I was supported by, or it made some of the difficult times in my own community, where I was like, this is just, I can move past this. There's a world outside of this. I haven't seen it yet, but I've read it. It's there, I believe it, I can taste it. And I think for me, U of M was kind of the first step in that direction. I had been accepted, I was a pretty smart kid, I think. I got acceptance, a full ride to Fisk University, full ride to Wayne State University, acceptance to Michigan State, and I was going to go to Michigan State until U of M said, he's a bit young, we're not sure he's socialized enough to be here. And I went, well, now I want you. I want you. And ultimately, though, that decision that was kind of part of rebellion and calling the admissions office going, well, have you decided yet? Have you decided? Everyone else gave me early admission, why won't you? Why don't you love me, U of M? But it was the beginning of a great relationship, which is why I pushed so hard for my sister, who's 13 years my junior, to go there, even in its imperfection. I met, strangely enough, Michigan was where I really learned to not tolerate diversity, but embrace it. Where at 2 o'clock in the morning, sorry, Mom, but at 2 o'clock in the morning, when you're sitting there having a conversation with a Jewish woman from New York, and you've let down your guards, and you know each other now, so it's not just this black guy and this Jewish woman, it is, we're friends. We have hung out together, we've studied together, we've talked at 2 in the morning about anything and everything, that you can kind of just have those conversations and see that as much as our lives are different, as much as our cultures are different, they're deeply rich, they're interesting, they are guideposts for us, and you can respect that when you see it in someone else. My freshman year, my roommate was an engineer. He was Native American. And I know that because that was 1985. I said to him, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? He said, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. But again, we had gotten to a place where it wasn't this, on the street, if someone says something about your culture, you get. But there, Bivik was his name. I won't say his last name. But Bivik, we would lay in our bunks and talk. I would talk about East Side Detroit. He'd talk about why the term Indian is offensive. And why Native American is the term, and why he and his family don't celebrate Thanksgiving. And in the dark, as we are sitting there talking, all of this has stayed with me throughout my life. So as much as I've appreciated the education, and the U of M education really does still matter, it counts. There's something to be said for that. But at the end of the day, when I told my younger sister, I said, what you will get more than that, you'll get the degree. But what you will get in the good and the bad, because that was the same U of M where a note was slipped under the door of a sorority, calling them basically gigaboos. I was there during that time where we had the Senate. So it was sometimes an uneasy existence together, but that's what life is. But the memories I take away from U of M, quite frankly, was an environment where I had conversations with my white male floor mate, where he said, "I don't want to offend you, but can you explain your hair? What is that brush?" And he became one of my best friends. We were like road buddies in college because he wasn't coming from a negative place. He had never lived in close proximity with a black person. So we would talk, and I would go, "I could never use the brush you're using. I couldn't do that here." So I remember standing at the mirror. His name was Paul, and it was just this exchange happening. So for all of the challenges, there were days at U of M where I went, "Oh man, why am I being made to feel like a second-class citizen?" But more of the days were those authentic, organic exchanges and the friendships that I kept from that time, but the lessons I've learned. It has really impacted my career. And when I came back here from Chicago after being in Chicago for 6 years, I said to this organization, now as the executive director of Affirmations, the first black person to lead the organization in this 26-year history, I said to the organization, my commitment, my vision is that we will honor our promise and then some. Our promise to be truly inclusive and to respect all the letters in the LGBTQ alphabet, because, and I think part of that was the experiences like the ones I had for 4 and nearly 5 years getting my undergraduate degree at U of M. Mommy again, sorry. But there was a lot to learn, and it wasn't just all school. But all of that shaped me, so I really do, I will always have an affinity for U of M, even it was an imperfect university. But it was a defining period in my life, and now at 47, as I look back and I think about all the people and things that have helped me to be a person that says to my new organization, we will embrace diversity. We will not tolerate it like we do a cold sore. We will embrace it because it is a part of my DNA. And I think that experience for me as a kid who grew up on the east side of Detroit with nothing, it was very homogenous. So U of M was my first experience at 16. I started college at 16. It was my first experience meeting people with different races, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different religion, different parts of the country. My East Coast friends, and there's a different cadence, and you learn to appreciate and respect, like, this country really is, if we could truly just get to the point of embracing, there is brilliance here. And so for me, diversity is absolutely, it's a necessity, because I know what's capable, what's possible. You can't have everyone who thinks the same way in the room and expect amazing things to happen, because you're going to bring something to the table that I won't even think about. It won't be a part of my American history. So that's why for me, it's embracing. And right now, after 6 years in Chicago, I never thought I'd come back. But I'm here, I'm home, I have no regrets. And I was saying to someone today at a meeting, and we just started talking. She had spent, I think, 10 years in New York, New Jersey. So we were both coming back home. She had been here a little longer. And she said to me, she's like, this time I think it's going to stick. And I'm like, I do too. I do. Nothing beats a failure but a try. But there is, and I say this as someone who stepped away for a good while, this is different. It's a different energy. We have always been the little engine that could, Detroit. We have, God bless, and I love it about us. I would tell folks in Chicago when they say to me, well, you've been here long enough, you're now in Chicago. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Once you are a Detroiter, you just are. Even when the lights turn off, bankruptcies be damned, you are a Detroiter. And I said to them, now, it's like Whitney Houston. where I'm getting on the plane and they're playing that I Will Always Love You song. But I will always love Detroit. Now, I didn't think I'd return home. Quite frankly, when I left here 6 years ago, June of 2009, the bottom had fallen out. It was, the new normal was just forming. I mean, at the time, we didn't know which of our big three would stay. There was a good chance at the time, I remember it, I was, in the nonprofit community, it was 50-50 whether or not General Motors was going to make it. Forget bankruptcy, but make it. So when I left, that's when I left this place. And so going to Chicago, the third largest city, energy, and while not the same level, but again, the diversity of thought and ideas that U of M, experiences like U of M had gotten me used to, expecting, I didn't realize how much I missed. But 6 years in, I'd come home, visited, and I'm like, this looks different. Okay, I'm reading stories because, again, as a Detroiter, you never quite leave it, even when you're somewhere else. So I would read the stories. My heart would break over the bankruptcy. I would be renewed when something happened or new construction went up. But as I thought about coming home, looking at this opportunity, I looked very closely at the city, as I did Chicago before I went there, and I went, oh, this is different. I haven't given my city enough credit for the work it's done over the past 6 years. This time, I see the construction. I see the different people in downtown Detroit walking their dogs. Now, I caution us to make sure that renewal expands to the entire Detroit, and that we remember to learn lessons that perhaps Baltimore and other cities didn't learn as they renewed their center cities. So I think there's work to be done, but it's got to start somewhere. So I'm proud to be back home. I'm proud to be going to Tigers games at Comerica Park instead of, with shame, going to White Sox games in Chicago. So it's good, and in some ways, it's like coming to a new city with all the comforts of home. I was saying to my mom, I'm like, the things I know are still here, so there's a comfort in it. There is a safety in it. But then there was this turnabout thing we have downtown now, and I went, what is this? Where did this is, it's, what? And it's amazing, and campus marshes, and just the construction. Construction is such a sign that a city is being revitalized. And for my entire 6 years in Chicago, it was nothing but construction. So to come home and see those things, so I'm proud to be here. I root for Detroit. I hold Detroit accountable, just like I hold U of M accountable. Neither is perfect, but I think for Detroit, our best days really are ahead of us. We will never be the same city we once were. I don't know that we would want to be. I don't know that there is, other than just raw numbers, what's so great about being a 3 million person city or a 2 million person city. I think be a great city. And what I hope for my city and what my role, which is a fairly external facing role as executive director of the LGBTQ Community Center, my role is to make sure that the LGBTQ community has a place at the table as this new city is being developed. But also, as a black man who grew up in the city, to make sure that other groups have a face, that they are witnessed, that they are saying that they are welcome to be a part of this new conversation, because this is evolving. This story is really just kind of taking shape, and I think, again, going back to what I said about diversity, we will not be successful if we do not have diversity of thought and opinion around the table, shaping this together. We don't all have to agree, but I do believe that we can all see the vision, that this city will be better for it. I think you've got to get the creatives. For me, as someone who has written 3 books and someone who found his voice as a 4th and 5th grader reading books as my brother and sister were running and playing stickball, I was on the porch going, oh, this Paris place sounds amazing. I don't know these words they're saying, but it sounds like they're having a good time. So for me, arts and culture, one of the things I loved about Chicago, that's not the added for me, it's a necessity. It's a part of the heart and soul of the community. And Detroit, I mean, we're Motown. Come on. I mean, if this place is not about arts and creativity and culture, but you got to get there's a young crop of smart, open people who see the world more globally. I'm 47. Sure, there's a place for me here, but there has to be a place for them here too, because they're the future of the city. So I think all of those things have to happen, and I want to be a part of that in my role here, and personally be a part of that, your problem or solution. So I think when we all start thinking in those terms, nobody's neutral. Nobody gets to be on the sidelines right now as Detroit re-emerges as a Renaissance city, and that's what's happening. So right now we all have to get into the game. It's going to be messy sometimes. We may not always agree, but get into the game and really root for your city, not just by proxy, but through conversation. Have the uncomfortable conversations. Walk up to somebody on the street who may not look like you, and have enough trust in each other to go, hi, what do you love about our city? And it sounds kind of flight of fancy, but I don't think so. I think just like U of M, it was those one-on-one conversations where I look someone in the eye and go, are we going to trust each other? Okay. That gives you a bigger worldview. We can continue to look at things like statistics, and it becomes daunting. It's overwhelming. But if you really just walk up, if we all just made a goal tomorrow to walk up to somebody who, two things, doesn't look a lot like me, and I don't know, and just say hello. What do you like about our city? Just begin there. I think human relationships, human to human contact, has the power to change everything. It may not feel like it, but this is the time of your life. Embrace this. Don't rush to graduation. You'll look back at it and regret it if you do. The 4.5 years I spent at U of M were phenomenal. And it's the time where you get to experiment and try on different thoughts and try on different ideas. And it's one of the few times, unless you're extremely fortunate, that you're really going to be able to sit down at 2 in the morning or 12 in the afternoon or on the dyad, between classes, and just talk and be open to new things. So my advice would be, don't rush it. Embrace it. Don't tolerate it. Embrace it fully, and don't be afraid of things that are dissimilar. Know that the work you're doing at U of M is important work. You are the future. You're the future leaders. You're the future doctors, teachers, city planners. So have fun, but take this seriously, because all of the energy, the nourishment, the learning that you're taking in is preparing you to take all of this to the next level. So have fun with it, but this is serious work you're doing right now. Know that you are destined for amazing things. And right now, to your good credit and or your parents, you are at a university that expects great things from you. So my advice would be, enjoy it, don't rush it, but know that this is serious work you're doing, even in the fun times. I mean, it was good. Now, is it on?
It is on.
Oh.
Go for it.
College was a wonderful experience where I learned great things, Mother. That's all I have to say. No, but again, it's a safe place. You're safe as anyone can be on the campus. So again, it's the place where I've done things there that I've never done again since. I've started things there that I do now regularly. It was really, I think I dated a man for the first time at U of M. I was there on campus, and I think we actually held hands as we went to the Nectarine Ballroom. It was on U of M's campus, because in Michigan especially, that was, that it was the most open, accepting community of things that were just not homogenous. So I enjoyed it. And again, I'm the same person. I remember sitting outside of the union, student union, waiting for my bus with my little wall man. And I remember a group of white guys passing by, and they called me the N-word. And I remember I'm serious. I remember the day. It was a beautiful sunny day. And I just remember not knowing, should I chase them? What do I do? Is this happening? Did they? And I just remember how that made me feel. I felt dirty. And I felt dirty and angry, and it was just this array of feelings. And I think part of it, as I look back at it, part of it was I had to get over being the bridge student who would have been the first at the time in his family to go to a 4-year university, and really believe that I deserved to be here. And it was moments like that that shook you, because I had friends at U of M. One of my friends would say, "Just got the new American Express from the parents. Let's go." And I would go, "These things? Mother, can I talk to you?" And my mom would go, "Yeah, those things do not happen in this house. First of all, so you need to go ahead and file your financial aid paperwork, because an American Express card will not be coming." So listen, it was bitter and sweet, but and there were other instances, but that happens in the world as people are together. I don't think that was anything U of M conspired to do. I appreciated the fact that U of M had a commitment, an intentional commitment to creating a diverse environment, and I was a part of that. And I do like the fact that I was able to, because of my age, but for the most part, that bridge program were for minorities. So whether it's age or the fact that you're a minority coming from a public school, whatever. But for those first few months, we were in a very protective environment where the classroom sizes were smaller, where we got to ease into this for so many of us, our first time seeing folks who didn't look like us every day. So you got to respect that. Well, my sister just went in the fall, and good luck in engineering. But that they had that type of program for me, because I know that because of that program, that first semester in the summer, where it was a slower pace, a little more attention, the dosage of classes over the summer were a bit more intense, where I got to go to the professor and go, "Dr. Story, explain to me again why you gave me a C when I used to be the best writer in my high school class." And he would have time to explain that to me. Ralph Story, I think, was my first English professor's name at U of M. I should check that out. I think I'm right. But I remember, though, at the end of the summer, I did a paper on boxing. And he wrote, and he gave me my notes, and I went, "Okay, you're like to serve with love, because now you've given me an A, and you told me why, and that makes perfect sense to me." So I will love the school. I will always root for U of M. It's an imperfect environment. It was for me. It was for my sister. But it was the best kind of environment.